Okay, think about this for a second. If you had to picture the most boring, soul-crushing modern office imaginable, the fluorescent lights, the gray cubicles, the whole 9 yards, you'd probably also picture a computer screen. And on that screen, that familiar, glowing green grid. It's the backdrop to so much of our work lives. But what if I told you there's a wild, hidden story hiding behind all those cells?
Right. Because beneath the surface of this tool that we all just take for granted, there's a whole secret world. And it's a world of passion, of fierce competition, and millions of devoted followers who don't see a boring grid at all. They see a playground with endless possibilities.
And this quote from spreadsheet influencer Layla Garani, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? For most of us, Excel is just there. It's a utility, like a hammer or a screwdriver. It's not something you're supposed to get excited about.
But if that's true, then how in the world do you explain this? How do you explain that millions of people follow spreadsheet gurus online, or that grown adults are battling it out, for real, for a championship belt?
I mean, this is not some tiny niche community we're talking about. This is a massive subculture most of us never even knew existed. You've got a full-blown e-sport with a world championship in Vegas that gets broadcast on ESPN. You've got spreadsheet influencers with millions of followers, and a Reddit community that's bigger than a lot of cities. It's a world where people get genuinely hyped about their Lambda toolboxes. So the question is, how on earth did this happen?
Well, to understand the present, you gotta go back to the beginning. The story of the spreadsheet isn't about one piece of software. It's a story of corporate warfare, brilliant ideas, and some even more brilliant copying. It all kicked off back in 1979 with a program called VisiCalc. People called it a magic piece of paper, and it completely changed the game. It basically turned the Apple II from a hobbyist's toy into a serious business machine. Then in the early 80s, Lotus 123 came along and just took over the world of IBM PCs. It wasn't until 1985 that Microsoft finally got into the game with its own version, Odyssey. And in a funny twist, it actually launched first on an Apple computer, the Macintosh.
And this quote from Dan Bricklin, one of the guys who made VisiCalc, wow, it just captures the moment that changed everything. See, back then, software patents weren't really a thing, so he didn't protect his invention. He left the door wide open. And a guy named Bill Gates was about to walk right through it.
So let's be really clear about this. Microsoft's strategy wasn't about some stroke of genius invention. It was about taking what was already a hit, in this case Lotus 123, and just making it better. It was a brilliant knockoff, and it turned out to be the foundation of an entire empire. So, how did they do it? How did Microsoft take a copy of a popular program and turn it into one of the most dominant pieces of software in human history? Well, they used a very specific and pretty ruthless formula. It really came down to three key things. First, it was way faster. It had this feature called intelligent recalc, which meant it was up to 10 times quicker than Lotus. Second, it just looked better. Thanks to the Mac's graphical interface, it was just slicker and way easier to show off in sales demos. And third, and this was the real killer move, they bundled it. The bundle was the masterstroke. Microsoft took Excel, Word, and PowerPoint and packaged them together as Microsoft Office. The sales pitch was dirt simple. Buy 2 of our apps and we'll give you a third one for free. It was an offer businesses just couldn't refuse, and it completely squeezed out competitors like Lotus. It was game over. And the result of that strategy? Well, it's just staggering. By 2025, the business revenue for Microsoft 365, which is basically the grandchild of that original bundle, is projected to hit $88 billion. This strategy didn't just work, it built a modern tech giant. Okay, so that brings us to today. After 40 years of knockoffs, bundles, and total dominance, why is Excel still on top? It's faced some really powerful challengers, but that grid, it remains absolutely unshakable. 2 major threats have really come for the throne. First up was Google Sheets, back in 2006. It was free, it was collaborative. A lot of people thought it was the Excel killer, but it wasn't. Companies were already locked into the Microsoft bundle, and you had what one historian called a managerial hangover. Basically, the bosses just stuck with what they knew. And now, the new challenger is AI, promising instant analysis with no work. But so far, AI chatbots are notoriously bad at math. And frankly, a lot of people actually like doing the work and processing the data themselves. So all of this history, all of this competition, it leads us to this really interesting paradox, this conflict at the very heart of what Excel is. Is this a tool that represents the absolute worst parts of office life, or is it secretly a wellspring of creativity? I love this story from an Excel trainer named Oz du Soleil. He was working at a call center, and management accused him of having calls that were too long. He was furious, so you know what he did? He opened Excel, he logged all his own data, and he made some charts. He sent a summary to the company president, and just like that, he was taken seriously. For him, Excel became this amazing tool of empowerment.
And that story, it just captures the two sides of Excel perfectly. On the one hand, yeah, it's seen as the symbol of a soul-crushing job, the very embodiment of corporate drudgery. But on the other hand, for a lot of people, it's the place where actual work happens, a tool that can give you independence and even be a secret source of creativity inside that very same system.
So that's the question we're left with. Which is it? Is that grid on your screen a prison, or is it a playground? Is it a symbol of being just another cog in the machine? Or is it the one tool that lets you prove your worth and maybe even push back? The answer, it seems, depends entirely on how you decide to use it.